Good morning, everyone. In the last class, we are trying to discuss the simple example here. So here, basically, what we are doing here, we have created one class called heightened here. Inside this particular heightened, what we are doing here, we are having two methods. So what are the two methods we are having? So something called same temperature as well as less than temperature. So in the previous example, we call this particular method called same temperature. Observe carefully how exactly we are calling this particular method here. And now here we are calling the method called same temperature. Getting the point. Now, so what we are going to do here? Now, using this particular functional interface, internally we are going to call this particular method called save temp. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here. I will try to run the same example in a debug mode because in the last class we are getting count as a 0. Let me run the same example here. So I'm moving into the different perspective. So that is called debug. Observe here, the same temp is called here. What is the value we are getting here? Something called 25. And here, what is the value we are having? Something called 89. So because of this, what happened here? We are getting return false here. We are getting false. So back to here, in the reference demo, here we can check here. If this particular condition is satisfied, then only we are going to get count as a plus plus. Getting the point. So now, first condition we are getting as a false here. But you can check here, all the objects here, all the objects are having different value. So this value cannot be matched here. This value cannot be matched here. So observe carefully. Now we are in the function method. You can able to see here the line number. So that basically that is the lambda expression. We could not find it. So now the condition is failed. Again, because we are into the iteration, right? We are into the loop. So we can check how many the length here, 5. So more 3 times this loop is going to repeat here. We can check here again. Second one also is returning false. Third one. So we'll go back to here. Again the third one also is returning false. Fourth one. False. And the final one. So we'll check this final one also. And it is also returning false here. Right. Now you can check the count here, 0. So because of this, we are getting a 0. Right. Now, what I will do, I will make here something called 89. Getting the point. If we observe carefully, again I am going to run the same example. So you can observe the count 1. Count 1 is nothing but, so whatever the value is given as a last one, so what we are doing here, we are checking with a collection of arrays. Getting the point. So in that, any object is matched here. Any object is matched here, we are returning here. So now what I will do, so again I am going to use the same 25. So instead of same temperature, I will use this particular less than temperature. Let me save the class here. The same example I am going to run here. Observe how many the count is matched here. One condition is matched here. Getting the point. Only one condition. Because if you observe carefully, whenever we are calling this particular function by passing this particular, so this is we are going to have a basic one. Now we are checking with this particular value. So in that only one condition is satisfied, less than. So this is why we can work with the temperature. Make sure here all the values we are making as a different data types here. So this is nothing but the custom data types we are using here. So this is very important here. This is very important example here we discuss. And one more example I want to work with the same. But here only the difference is, so we are going to work with the generic type here. We are going to work with the generic type. So let me go back to the same example. Inside this particular function, what I can do, so I'm going to work with okay. So instead of my function, can we use t reference, t values? Okay. Let me create one more interface. I'm going to create here something called 3. So carefully observe this method also having the generic type here, and internally I'm returning int. So name of the function also we are going to take as a same, but here I'm passing as a array of values here. Later I'm going to pass one object. Getting the point. So this is a one functional interface we define. Now what we are going to do, we'll create a one more class here. So one class I'm creating. So it is not an implementation class, but just for understanding I'm creating it. Okay, now observe here what we are doing here. So I'm making the static of this particular method and the return type int, and name of the method count matching. And here I'm going to pass 2 parameters. Getting the point. So in that time what I'm doing here, initially I'm making 0, and after that I'm going to work with the loop int I is equals to 0 and I less than, so 1 second, I is equals to 0, I less than val dot length and I plus this. After this what I will do, I'm going to check the same one here. So whatever the value which is available in the particular index is matching with the second parameter, what we are going to do, so we'll try to increment count plus plus. Getting the one, and later return particular count. So this is the simple method we are going to use in the particular, so my function array IMPL. And now I'm going to work with one more class here. One more class. So this is the main class here, something called demo 6. And inside this particular main class, what I'm going to do, again here we need to create a method here. So here also I'm making the same type here. So my OP, for understanding I'm specifying here, and here I'm passing as a function. What is the name of our functional interface? Something called my function 3. So we are going to pass second as a array of values, and third one we are going to pass as a values. And what we are going to do, f dot function dot value dot b. So value dot b, getting the point. So these are about the our functional interface we are working with. And now observe carefully. So to work on this particular array of values, what we need to do, I'm going to integer array I'm going to create something called val, and here 1 comma 2 comma 3 4 some values, right? And after this I'm going to work with the one more here, something called string. And so these are about the string data. So now we are having two data types here. One is the integer, another one is string. And now, so we are going to get the count. We are going to get the count. The count is going to be returned by the myOp method, cutting the point. So now I'm calling myOp method by passing functional references. To specify the functional reference, what I can do, so here my functional IMPL, and here we need to specify the method name. What is the name of the method? Count matching, right? And after this we need to specify the values here, and last one I'm specifying as a 4, getting the point. But only the difference here, so carefully observe here how I'm specifying here. This is the integer generic type. Integer generic type. So now count, getting the point. So after this, what I'm going to do, we'll print a message, something called count. So first we'll check this example. Later we'll go for the string data type. But what is the difference between the previous example and current example here? So here it is matching one object here. So we are working with the same, but only the difference here, how we can work with the generic type. How we can work with the generic type. This is very important here. Getting the point. Now observe, I'm going to work with the same here using only the different string data type. But so anything we are changing here, we are not changing anything. So here, string here, and instead of values, strs. What happened? Okay. Yeah. So we need to specify the type as a different one. So because of that, it's not matching the types are very important. Whatever we are passing inside this particular STRS, so here also we need to specify same. Because if you go to the my function or IMPS, here we are specifying the same type here. Getting the point. So because of these parameters, we need to specify the same. Now observe here, we specify the same. Now I am going to run the same example. The val contains, we are getting 1. So instead of this, we can change to the str. And one more I can pass here, character CTRS. So character CTRS. Now carefully observe and character. So here we are working with the 3. So 3 data types we are working here. Getting the point. So these are the very important example here, how we are working on the different data types here. And after any questions regarding this, okay. So if we don't have any questions, so we'll try to move on to the one more important concept here. So something called constructor reference here. So as of now, we check with the method reference here, but how exactly we can check with the constructor reference? Basically, it is also similar to the method reference here. And now observe what I am doing here. So let me create a one more example. So this is also same, the functional interface we need to create here. So my efficiency C1 is nothing but the functional constructor interface here. So to understand the constructor reference, I'm making like a name it convention like this. And after this, observe carefully. Now what we are doing here. So who is newly joined? Okay. So carefully observe here what I'm doing here. So this is a my class reference here. So we'll create a my class a little bit after completion of this particular defining the method inside the functional interface. So name of the method function, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm taking this particular int n. So we need to define the my class here. We need to define the my class. So carefully observe here how I'm defining inside this particular. So this is the my class, and now you can check here. As of now, so we are trying to provide the return type as a primitive data types. So this is the my class is a different tool. It's like a custom class we are going to create, and the custom class we are trying to define. So carefully observe here, this particular functional interface, the particular function method is returning return type as a object type here. Okay, back to here. Now what I'm going to do here, inside this particular class we are going to have one variable I'm defining, that is called val. And let me provide the constructor of this particular class. Internally what I will do, so internally val is equals to v, val is equals to v, and one more constructor I'm going to specify. Here I'm not going to take any parameters. So what is the value we can specify? The value 0. By default we are going to get 0, and the default constructor will return the 0, and whenever we are calling this particular single parameter constructor, what happens here? We are going to get whatever the value we are passing while creating an object of this particular class called my class. And now we are having one method here. So the particular method is trying to return integer data type and to get value. Return val. So this is the one more class here. To create a constructor reference here, now what we are going to do, let me open the main method here. Inside this particular main method, now what I am going to do here, if you observe carefully, so this is the my class. Using this particular my class, now I am going to call new here. I am going to call new. So this is going to create an object of which class? My class class. But observe, this particular constructor will return functional interface style. So what is the functional interface style here? My function form, which is we created the new functional interface here. Getting the point? My class. So this is the way we can create a constructor reference here. So carefully observe, in Java 8 we are going to create a object like this. In Java 8 we are going to create a object like this. But up to 1.7, how we are creating here? Something called new my class. This is right. Now this particular constructor will return the same class type, but here it is returning functional interface type. Okay, back to here. After creating this particular constructor here, now what we are going to do? Using this particular my class reference, we are going to call the function method by passing 100. So this particular function method will return integer value or object. This function is going to return my class as an object here. Getting the point? So carefully observe here. Now what I am doing is my class something called MC. So now using this particular MC, what I am going to do? MC dot get value. So this is the way we are going to call here. This is the way we are going to call the particular get value method. But now observe internally what we are doing here with the reference of functional interface. We are creating what we are doing here. We are creating an object here. So observe carefully. So this is very important here. Getting the point? Now what I am going to do here. So if we observe carefully, we try to check with the new information here. Whenever we are calling this particular function, what is returning here? What is returning here? The my class object reference. Using the object reference, we are calling get value. But make sure here, whenever we are passing this particular 100, what's happening internally? What's happening internally? The 100 value is going to assign into this particular value. Getting the point. Now, let me put a breakpoint here. So as well as we are going to put a breakpoint here. So to understand a little bit more, what I'm doing is, I'm running in the debug mode. So observe here. We'll see what we are getting inside it. Getting the point. So whenever we are calling this particular function, you can able to see here. So it's calling from the function C. So this is a method which we added in the particular functional interface. Now you can see the line number 16. The line number 16. So how the values are changing here? Internally, whenever we are calling this particular function, the functional interface method, by default, this is calling the constructor here. This is calling the constructor here. Right. Now, this is the way the values is assigned into the value you can observe here. We are getting as 100. The same 100, whenever we are calling this particular get value, we are getting here. But now observe, if I am going to change here something called into get. So here we are going to get an error. But you can observe here, even if I am going to change here something called 12, this particular constructor is returning error. Why it is returning error? Because this particular my class is expecting two parameterized constructor. So now what you understand here? So based on the functional interface method parameters, so in my class constructor we need to define the constructor parameters also. So in the functional interface method we define only one parameter. Same way in the my class constructor we specified only one parameter. Getting the point. And same like if we are changing in the my functional something called the functional interface method with the two parameters, so we need to change here also. We need to change here also. So now you can observe that is resolved here. Getting the point. So this is very important example here. Using the constructor reference, how we can create an object. And now I'm going to work with a generic type here. I'm going to work with a generic type. So carefully observe here how I'm working in generic type. Here I'm specifying T and O. So this also we need to specify the type. Here I'm not going to specify integers. Here I'm going to specify the type here. So carefully observe here. After specifying here, I'm not going to work with the integer. I'm going to work with the generic type. So here also we need to change T. And the constructor also we need to change. The constructor also we need to change. Here by default we cannot use 0 because we doesn't know which object we are going to get. We doesn't know which object we are going to get, so that's the reason we are making as a 0. Getting the point. And after this, what we are going to do? Here, instead of specifying T, we need to specify the type. Right. So this is the way we can change the generic style. Generic style, what are the advantages we are going to get? So we are going to get whatever the data type we want to use. In the runtime, we can change it. In runtime, we can change it. So carefully observe. My class we are creating, and here what I can do, we need to change here integer because we are passing as a integer. And same way, this function also we need to change to the integer. this function also we need to change to the integer. And here here also we need to change to the integer. Getting the point. So this is the way we can work with the generic type. So 100. Getting the point. And now what I will do, I'm going to copy same example here. Instead of integer, I want to change to the string. Right. So 1. Carefully observe here. Without changing the existing code. Getting the point. Without changing the existing code, we are able to run the example. So that is the beauty of this particular generic style. So carefully observe whenever we are implementing this particular generic type. So wherever we are trying to pass any variable and wherever we are trying to return any variable, any data type, right? So what we are going to do, we are making as a type here, so that we can work with any data type here. We can work with any data type. So this is all about the particular constructor reference here. Getting the point. So if we want to work with one more here, we are going to have one more important concept here, and here is going to take as a type of the type of the particular object, and is going to return one more return type here. So to understand here, now what I am going to do, the same example I am trying to write here. So instead of defining one more, I am trying to use the same word. So carefully observe, here I am making R comma T. So R here we are indicating is a return type. R is returning as a return type. So this is taking as a, this parameter we are passing as a type, and we are trying to return. Getting the point. Now what I am going to do, in the particular class, so we are going to use the same type, and so that get value we need to change here. The get value we need to change. If we observe here, the get also we can work with the same. Okay. To work this, what we can do, my class we already created. Okay. Here I am going to create one more method, static or comma, and here we need to specify the R as a return type, something called my class. Name of the method I am taking as a my class factory, and this is taking my function form. Getting the point. So after this, what we are going to do, TV, and internally what I am doing is const dot this particular function b. So this is we are going to work, and now we'll try to use this particular method here. We'll use this particular method. If we observe carefully, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work with so different data type here, something called double, and here what I can do, my class call. Observe carefully. And here my class. So up to this is a return type. Getting the point. And so this is the return type, and this particular class is expecting here what, return type as well as type here. But what I'm doing here, the return type as well as type I'm making same here. So maybe it's going to give some confusion, but carefully observe. This is also whenever we are trying to figure it out the internal code of the Java. So all the code are implemented like this only. So that's the reason I want to cover a simple example on this, how exactly it's going to work. And here what we are doing is, so this particular class having the type, and inside this particular function we are having return type as well as type here. So this is up to the return type, and this is the type here. This is the type. So same thing we implemented here. Is expecting two parameters, return type as well as type. Okay, let's go to the same example here. Now what I'm going to do, after this I will call this particular function, and here we need to specify the function reference here. That I'm going to pass this particular, and here we need to pass a value. The value I'm passing here, right, after passing this particular function is trying to return something. This particular function, it's like the method is trying to return some value. So now what we are going to do, if you observe carefully, this is going to return this information. Okay, so we don't want to use. So carefully observe here. The previous example I commented here, and now the current example we are working here. After this, what we can do? Simply we can call this method. Let me save here. We are getting or not the same value, but only the difference here. What we are doing here, the return type as well as the type we are working on the same here, but make sure this particular function having return type as well as type, and whenever we are calling this particular function is trying to return something, but is expecting one parameter, and we are passing some type as a parameter. We'll go back to the my class here. Inside this particular function we are working here, right? So carefully observe, whenever we are creating this particular constructor reference here, so we need to specify the type here, because the class is expecting only type here. The type is specified here. After this, so we already identified this particular constructor reference is going to return one functional interface reference. So this is the functional interface reference here. But now up to this is the return type, and this is the type. But inside the return type, we are expecting the object as a return type, because we are working on the constructor reference. Getting the point? So that's the reason I'm making as a the class as well as the type, because the class is expecting type here. So that's the reason I'm making same double here. Getting the point? So whenever we are calling internally, the functional interface is trying to return. So this same thing only. Whatever the return type is specified here, so the same thing is going to return here. So this is all about the working with constructor reference. Here, the important here, how we can specify the return type as well as type here. Now we can work with one more example here. So how exactly we can work here? So to class, we need to create a one more. Otherwise, okay. So let me check here. Okay, carefully observe what I am doing here. I am trying to work with a different here. Okay. Let me copy this one also. MC1. So see here, we are getting the same output here. But only the difference here, I am going to work with the second one. For second one, I am going to create a new class here. So for this purpose, I am going to create a new class. So carefully observe how I am going to create a new class here. The class I am creating here something called my class 2, because already my class is already be implemented here. So simple information I want to work here. String str. So this is the default constructor. Str is equals to so empty I am passing. One more constructor. So this is the one more constructor I am taking, is expecting one parameter. Right. And here str. Getting the point. So now what we are going to do? The same example we are going to use. Only the difference here. Only the particular difference here, if you observe, we'll go for the same class here. For this, I don't want to specify my class 2. So this particular my class 2 is expecting here, because the type already be specified here. The type already be specified. Only the difference here, my class 2 and is not taking anything, because we are not specifying any type here. Getting the point. And now we don't want to use this. Okay, we are getting the my class 1. My class 2. And here, what happens here? So the second class, what I am doing here? The type, the generic type I am removed here. The generic type I am removed here. So that's the reason. So here, if we observe, after my class, we are not specifying any type here. So that is we specified for the previous example here. So wherever we go, the type here, we are not specifying here. So directly we are connecting here, getting the point. I'm going to run the same example here. So the same output we are getting here. The same output we are getting. But what is the difference between the first one and second one? So the type difference here. The type difference here. Getting the point. Again, if you are specifying here return type comma type, return type comma type, so we need to change the one more logic here. Getting the point. So that is also very important here. So this is all about the constructor reference here. Any questions regarding this? Okay. So now, so this is a functional interface that is we created. So that we are going to call as a custom functional interface. But now we'll try to move on to the what are the predefined functional interfaces are available. Getting the point. So now observe, I'm going to provide some of the predefined functional interface, something called predicate. So you can see, so this is the one functional interface, and this is added in the 1.8. So the package also added in the 1.8, something called java.util.function. Getting the point. Now we'll go for this particular interface. What are the information is available? So you can see. So how many default methods we are having? Something called 1. So 2, 3. So one is static, 2 static methods as well as 2 default methods. But how many abstract methods we are having? Only one abstract method. Getting the point. Only one abstract method. That is the name of the abstract method called test here. So that's the reason we are making as this particular interface as a functional interface. So you can use this particular interface any Boolean related operations. You can use this particular functional interface any Boolean related operations. Getting the point. And as well as we can work with the default implementation, or we can go for this particular static related examples. So here you can observe again they are using object references, method references. So is null method which is implemented in the objects class. So we are checking here method references. Getting the point. So this is very important one interface called functional interface. Along with this, we are having one more, something called function. So this function also one kind of another functional interface, apply. So what is the abstract method we are having? That is called apply. So it is expecting type and return type, and we are passing the type and we are trying to return something. Same way we are having some default methods, one static method and some of the default methods we are having. Getting the point. So this is also we can go for the whatever the return type we are specifying, whatever the return type we are expecting, we can work with this particular functional interface. And along with this, we are having supplier. So this is also one more functional interface. Only one method which is available. So that is called get. And you can see, so since from which version onwards this particular interface is available, so they are specifying here. Getting the point. So you can observe here, all are coming from the 1.8. Right. So along with this, we are having one more consumer. So this is also one more functional interface. Getting the point. So all the methods, all the functional interface having specific purpose here. So that is we need to identify in the which scenario we can go for the functional interface. These are the predefined functional interface. So now we are going to work with a simple example. We are going to work with a simple example here. So carefully observe here now what I am going to do. Here, so inside this particular my class 2, I'm going to work with the main method. Inside the main method, now what I'm doing is, if we observe, okay. So this is a one function interface is expecting type and return type. The type I'm specifying is integer and the return type also I'm expecting integer. Getting the point. So this is the predefined function interface we are using, something called factorial. Getting the point. So using this particular factorial, what we are going to do, because you can go to this function is expecting type here. Apply method is expecting type here. So one parameter is expecting. The parameter, what we can do, we need to specify. The parameter I am specifying as a n. Getting the point. So this is important here. And after this, what I am going to do? Internally, again, the factorial logic I am going to write. The factorial logic I am going to write. By default, result I am making as a 1. And I am going to work with int I is equals to 0. Else we can go for the 1 instead of 0. I less than or equals to n. And I plus this. After this, what we are going to do? Result pre-increment operator I am going to use. Okay, I into. Okay, we'll work with the same. Result. Return result. Getting the point. Now, so this is the predefined functional interface we are working here. But how we can work here? Only the difference here is out. What happened? Let me the factorial of 3 is, yes, what is the name of the method? Something called apply. Yes, I'm going to pass 3. So we can check with the previous example also. The previous example we implemented 3, 5. The same one I'm taking here. Observe here. Whenever I'm saving this example, we'll try to run the same example here. So the same output we are getting or not? How many times the factorial logic is going to work? So basically for 3 it's going to report 3 times here. For 5, this particular loop is going to repeat 5 times. So this is the way we can work with using the predefined functional interfaces. Along with predefined functional interface, so some of the example we identify. So those are the custom functional interface methods. Getting the point. So this is all about the Lambda related example, and along with the Lambda, we discuss the method reference, constructor reference, functional interface, and the default methods and static methods. So only one pending, that is called stream API. The stream API we are going to discuss after completion of our collection here. After completion of our collection frameworks example here. But make sure here what we are going to do here. These are about the Java at Lambda example. Now we are going to move to the one important concept here, something called string handling here. But if we observe in the basic example onwards, we are working with a string data type here. But as of now, we did not discuss much regarding this particular string data type. Getting the point. So what exactly this particular string data type contains? Basically, what I want to explain here, so this is a collection of characters. So collection of characters we are going to call as a string data type. If you observe, in the last example, we are specifying here something called lambda. Right. So here, this particular lambda having some of the collection of characters here. So each characters we are grouping as a one collection of characters. The collection of characters we are converting into the string. So to create a characters, we already identified in the previous example the different data type we are using here. Where we use maybe in the different example. Okay, somewhere we implemented in the today class the character related example here. Back to here, what are the important things we need to work inside this particular string handling? You can observe here, this is we are going to call as a character because the specifying also it's having differently. Whenever we want to define the character, so single quotation we are going to use single quotes, and to work with string we are going to work with double quotes here. So that is only the difference here. Getting the point. So inside the double quotes, whatever we are going to specify, compiler is going to treat as a string data type, and inside this particular single quotes, whatever we are going to specify, so that is going to treat it as a character data type. So this is the difference between string and character. Getting the point. Now, so whenever we are defining this particular string, what are the constructors are available? And along with the constructors, what are the methods are available in the string. So that is we are going to discuss in the today class. Observe carefully. Basically, string is a one kind of object here. String is a one kind of object here. So that's the reason it's having some of the constructors and some of the methods here. So first we'll check with the constructors here. To move on to this example, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make comment of this particular example. So simply string str is equals to new string. So this is the default constructor. This is the default constructor that is we already identified. So what is the purpose of this particular default constructor? Getting the point. And one more constructor we are having. And if you observe, here we can check here. So these many constructors is going to take. These many constructors the string having here. So you can see it's taking a default constructor, and another one is expecting the byte, character, string, string buffer, string builder, and along with bytes and capset, so something called, it's having different kinds of constructors, so that we are going to call as a overloaded constructor here. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to provide the information inside this particular string class. You can observe here. So just provide the control O and try to type your string. So try to check with each one constructor. Here we are going to have the information regarding the particular constructor. So I'm requesting everyone. So try to read what exactly the information is provided by the Sun Microsystem people. Getting the point. So this is, if you are trying to read, each constructor will have the information how exactly this particular constructor are going to work internally. Getting the point. So now, so we are trying to move on to the simple example here using this particular constructor. Okay. Now, to work with another constructors, what we can do, I will try to copy this. Here, this is the one default constructor. And one more constructor which I explained, CTRS. Okay. So this is another constructor is expecting character as a parameter. Now what happens? What is the difference between these two? So if I'm going to print str2, if I'm going to print this particular str2, what happens is, so you can see the constructors into the whatever the characters we specify internally, what is happening here? So we are getting as a string object here. All the characters are appended as a string object. All the characters are appended as a string object here. So this is very important here. To convert the particular characters into string, what we can do? We can go for this particular constructor. You can go for this particular constructor. And along with this particular constructor, we are having so one more constructor here, something called charset, and is expecting starting index and so this particular starting index I want to specify 1 and I want to copy up to 6. Sorry. So this is the one more constructor we are having here. Is expecting 3 parameters. So this is the character array, and so from which index we want to copy the element. From which index we want to copy the element, and how many elements we want to copy. How many elements we want to copy. So these are the 2 parameters are indicating here. So if we observe the same example, if I am going to run here, the same example if I am going to run, you can see BCD. The A, it's not came here because we are having some restrictions here. So using this particular constructor, we can make those kind of restrictions here. Getting the point. Now, what we can do, the another example here. So basically, what I exactly I want to do. So the default constructor we identified. One is a character related constructor we identified. Inside the character related, we are having 3 parameters. So we are having some restriction related constructor. And after this, what I am doing here. So we are having one more constructor here. We are having one more constructor. If you observe carefully, so whenever we are passing character array, some other two parameters, we are getting a string object. And the same string object I am passing as a one more constructor. The same object, the string object I am passing as a one more constructor. So it's nothing but what I want to explain here. We are having one more constructor which is taking as a string as a parameter. Which is taking as a string as a parameter. If I am going to print the str3, we are going to get same output here. We are going to get same output here. So that is I want to explain here. So BCD and BCD. Getting the point. So we are having the different constructors that I explained is going to take as a byte related information. Is going to take byte related information. So if you observe carefully, now what I am going to do, I am going to take a byte array here. The particular byte array, something called ASCII values. So these are the ASCII values I am going to take here. So something called 65, 66, 67, 68, 69. Okay. Basically, one second. Uh, is treating as a integer value. Okay. So instead of this, what I can do, I'm going to create new byte. Why it is not taking it? Let me check here. 65 comma 66 comma 67 68. Observe here. Now we are getting a byte array information. So what I am going to do here? I am going to create one more constructor, something called str4 is expecting one constructor, one parameter as a byte, and another one I want to take here something called 5. Here in byte also we are having same restrictions here. I want to take as a 1 comma 6. Right. str4 str5. So see carefully. Now what we are doing is we are passing the ASCII values. Based on this particular ASCII values, we are getting an object, and in that we are having some restrictions here. So in that we are having some restrictions here. So what is the restrictions here? So from starting inverse, we can specify the first second parameter and how many elements we want to copy. So we are going to specify the second third parameter. So this is all about the one more constructor which is taking as a 3 parameters here. Getting the point. So any questions regarding this particular constructors here? Sync constructors here. Okay. So the remaining we are going to continue tomorrow. So tomorrow also we are going to have a class. So we'll try to complete as soon as possible this week. The core Java concept. After completion of, we are going to move the Spring related examples. Okay. So if we don't have any question, I'm going to conclude the today class. We'll continue tomorrow.